everyone will have a pop-up asking if you agree with the recording of the session. So hello everyone. Welcome to our session on carbon solutions, emerging trends and funding opportunities. I'm Veronica. I'm a project manager here at Impact Hub Lisbon. Together here with me is Monica, also from Impact Hub Lisbon, and also a big team from the Impact Hub Global and from other cities of Impact Hub. In the end, in the Q&A, maybe we will have time to present each other and share some thoughts. I just wanted to also share with you our agenda for today. Right now, we are in the welcome session and understanding what we will have here today. And afterwards, I will share with you what is CarbonX 2.0. What is it? How can you apply? If you are eligible as a startup, as a research institution, basically getting to know a little bit more about this funding opportunity. And then we move on to our fireside chat, where we will have a very, very exciting panel here with us today. I'm very excited for this. And we will be talking about the emerging trends and funding opportunities. And then we pass the mic directly to you, in which you can ask your questions, maybe about the funding, maybe directly to our speakers. This will be a very open Q&A. And then at 1, we will close this session and continue our, here in Lisbon, our lunchtime, but it will be very different from wherever you are based. Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. My colleague Monica will be answering all of your questions here today, okay? And who is here with us today? I'm very delighted to share with you that we are going to have here with us Dr. Juan, which is a senior director of Tencent, the institution that is sharing here with us today the Carbon 2.0 opportunity, CarbonX 2.0. Also, we have here Hugo Matias, the CEO of Collab Net for CO2. Hugo, if you want to unmute yourself and just say hi.
Good morning, everybody.
Hello. Hello, hello. Also, we have here with us Miguel Nogueira, Chief Scientific Officer of CO2 Offset AI. Miguel, are you there? Can you say hi to us? Yes, hello, Miguel. Nice to have you here. And Pedro Miguel, which is a researcher in geoenergy at University of Évora here in Portugal. Pedro, are you there?
Yes. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. Thank you.
Yes. Very, very excited to have you all here. So without further ado, I will pass the mic to Dr. Juan. We will have, I think we're having some sound issues, at least from my side. Monica, if you can help me.
Do you want me to share the slides? Or
I have the slides here with me.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
It's in PDF, right? Hopefully all the fonts and everything is great. Yeah.
Yes, I think everything is good. So I will pass on the slides, okay?
Perfect. So shall I start? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining this session. I really appreciate the Impact Hub team in Lisbon for organizing this. Really, like, we started the CarbonX program actually back in March 2023, which is CarbonX Program 1.0, right? That's why we have 2.0. And we co-launched it with Impact Hub Shanghai for phase 1. And Impact Hub has been really the very pivotal part, foundational part of the whole program since the very beginning. And this year we are doing the global version of CarbonX, which is CarbonX phase 2. And then we are collaborating with the whole network of Impact Hub right around the globe. And Lisbon is actually one of our key markets we want to tap into. So that's why we're having this session. So in a nutshell, right? So the whole program is probably in the first page, the whole program is a pure non-commercial grant funding program, right, where we provide tens of millions of US dollars in catalytic grant funding. And if there's only one thing you need to memorize after this call, which is our website, CarbonXProgram.com, right, which has everything you need for application, right? There's a guide to submit your application, right? There's an FAQ and also a link to submit your proposal, right? It's a one-stop shop. Actually, my colleague Inya is actually on the line with me, who is really kind of our hero of designing all the websites and everything. Yeah. Next page. Probably I'll skip this one. Yeah, probably next page. Yeah, just dive into the key details. So what the program is all about, right? So we started CarbonX to focus on cutting edge emerging climate tech, right? So things like solar, wind, lithium-ion batteries, those are actually not in scope, right? Those are more mature technologies that are already like in full commercialization stage. So we focus on things that are less mature, right, more early stage, which we hope that we can help them scale up and to be successful probably in the next 5 to 10 years. By saying early stage climate tech, we still need to start from something. So we focused on CCUS, right, which is carbon capture, utilization, and storage in phase 1, and it was mostly in China for 1.0. And now we started phase 2 5 months ago, right, in December 2024, with 4 tracks for application, right? We divide CCUS into 3 different tracks, namely CDR, which is carbon dioxide removal, right, which means you need to remove CO2 from the atmosphere. And then we also have point source CCUS, which means you need to capture CO2 from a point source, right? In this case, we actually focus on steel plants this year. Number 3 is carbon utilization, right? We actually want to convert CO2 into actual consumer products. And 4th track is a new track this year. We focus on long duration and storage, right? LDES, which means like float batteries, compressed air, gravity-based energy storage solutions, which can last at least 6 hours plus, right? We're not talking about like lithium-ion batteries you will find in like EVs and others. We talk about like 6 hour plus long duration energy storage, right? Those are the 4 tracks we are attracting proposal. And the deadline is May 31st, right? Basically 17 days from now. It sounds pretty short, but once you go to the website, you open the link. If you have everything off the shelf, probably takes an hour or 2 to fill in the application. And if not, I think at most it takes you probably 3-4 hours, right? It's not a huge kind of template you need to fill in. It's really kind of a pretty simple, straightforward questionnaire. So we still have enough time, right? If you go to the website today, yeah, we have 2-3 weeks to go. Next page. Next page. Yeah, thanks, Monica, for sending that on the in the chat. Oh, the previous page, sorry. There's a little bit time lag. So how the program is being run. So we have 2 rounds of selection. In the first round, which is we're ending by May 31st to submit a proposal, right? We will select the top 10 or 20 teams, depending on how many proposals we receive in each track, right? So in total, probably it's like 40 to 80 teams, right? And we hope to conclude that by September, right? And the first round of selection will happen mostly online. In the second round, we will fund the top probably up to 3 teams in each track, right? For us to give the actual probably millions of dollars in grant funding for you to build, hopefully, a very innovative pilot project in the real industrial setting, right? So basically, the grant we're giving is to fund an actual pilot, right? It's not for kind of your daily operations of your startup, right? It's for you to actually build a pilot. And each grant check is worth probably anything between, I would say, $2 to $4 million. I'll explain the kind of the project size in a minute. And the total funding pool is probably tens of millions of dollars, right? So in total, probably will fund up to 12 projects in total. And the main kind of categories we tap into are universities, research labs, and then startups, right? So that's where most of the early stage innovations are happening. We do have some people come to us say that, hey, like we are not one of those three categories, right? We may from a larger corporation, can we still apply? As long as your proposal contains a innovative technology proposal, you can still apply, right? It's just mainly probably like the innovation happening in those three categories. But we have scenarios where maybe the team were recently acquired by a large corporation, right? But they still are doing the same thing, working on cutting-edge innovative technologies. Yes, you can still apply. Next page. So this is kind of the pivotal part of our judge committee. So it's not just the Tencent team like doing the selection. We actually have a pretty big judge committee, and the expert committee is a very pivotal part of the whole judge committee. As you can see, probably the above half were professors from Chinese universities, and they were the judges in phase 1, right? And many of them will continue to be the judges this year as well. And we're adding more and more international faces to the committee. As you can see, like Klaus Lackner, who is kind of the founding father of DAC Technologies. And also we have like Jared, right, which is the CEO of Global Citizen Institute, now from Imperial College, David from Cambridge. And also we have Professor Juan Carlos Obenez from Spain, right, who is also one of the leading co-authors of the IPCC CCS report back in 2005. And we have more and more experts to join our committee. So one thing I want to clarify, so all the proposals will be reviewed and written in English, right? We won't be like, oh, the Chinese proposal will be reviewed by Chinese professors, US by US, and Spanish by Spain, or Portuguese proposal by Portuguese professors. Everything will be reviewed in the same pool in English using the same standards, but we'll mix everything together, right? So it'll be a pretty robust and a fair process. Yeah, next page. Next page, please. We co-launched the program with a set of partners. Previous page, sorry. There's a kind of a lag here, sorry. It's not just Tencent doing CarbonX, right? We actually co-launched it with 20-ish partners, spanning from industry, investment, consumer grants, and ecosystem partners. I won't probably go into many of the details, but for example, like our industry partners is the people who actually will provide the actual pilot sites, right? A real industrial kind of emission scenario to actually for us to do the pilot. For example, like HBIS is the second largest steel manufacturers in China. In phase 1, we actually are doing 2 pilots in the real steel plant in HBIS, right? So we're actually capturing CO2 from their flue gas in the steel plants. And also from a kind of a judge committee point of view, I think each partner would provide at least probably 1 judge, right, to join the selection process. So the whole judge committee probably is kind of a committee of like 50 plus people, right? From academia, from industry, from VCs, and also from Tencent. Yeah, and everyone actually has the same voting power. Next page. The timeline. So as I said, we already launched it in December 2004. And the most important date today is May 31st, right? It's our deadline for submitting proposals. And again, it doesn't take that long to fill in the application form. So please go to the website today. And September is the time we will announce our first round winners. And we hope to conclude everything for phase 2 by February 2026, where we have all the final winners. Next page. Yes, again, CarbonXProgram.com, very easy to memorize, right? Is the website you can go to. Actually, this is the front page. I think this is a little bit outdated. We have a link to application guide, a link to FAQ, and also the link to submit your proposal, all on the very first front page. That's pretty much all you need. And if you have any questions now today on the line, definitely you can ask me, ask my colleague, right, in the Q&A session. And if you have any questions during the application process, there are 2 ways to send your questions. One is this info@carbonxprogram.com email. And we also have a WhatsApp account monitored by real people, actually, almost 24 hours, right? So it's pretty easy to reach us, and probably will return your message usually within 24 hours, right? Sometimes even sooner. Yeah. Next page. So a bit more about the 4 tracks. First one is on CDR. Forget about the Kenya map now. There are 3 things you need to memorize. So we're funding a 100-ton scale, 100-ton annual pilot, right? Which we think is the first meaningful milestone in a real industrial setting for CDR, right? You probably are working on some like kilogram scale kind of experiments in the lab. And if you want to go to the field for the first time, 100 ton per year is probably the first milestone you want to hit. It's actually still quite small, right? And then probably we can cover everything for 100-ton project using probably $2 to $4 million in budget. And it needs to be a permanent CDR solution, right? Which means like a pure kind of a forest reforestation kind of a project is not in scope, right? We're talking about like biochar, enhanced weathering, direct air capture, right? Those kind of solutions, 100-year plus permanence. And it needs to be, this is the same for all tracks, it needs to be next gen technology, right? Meaning, if I've already done this in country A, you just want us to fund your project in country B, doing this exact same thing, that's probably not in scope. It needs to have some sort of innovation, right, in your proposal, right, in a new pilot. It doesn't have to be really like a super brand new thing. No one else has done it before, right? It's more like it needs to have some progress, updates, improvements in your proposal. In terms of project location, bro, that's kind of the number 1 FAQ we got. Yes, if you go to the website, you'll see a Kenya map. Kenya is actually a great place for doing CDR. Our team actually went to Kenya for a few weeks last year. So we will prepare the site in Kenya for you, right? If you only have a technology and you just need a site. But like as we already mentioned in the website, you're welcome to bring any project site, any proposal anywhere in the world, right? It can be in Portugal, it can be in Europe, right? It can be in the US, it can be in China. So you're welcome to bring your own pilot site as well. In that case, we'll probably just provide the funding, which actually makes our job easier. Yeah. Next page. The point source, again, right? 3 things. It's a 1,000-ton scale pilot, right? It's easier to capture CO2 from a flue gas than from the air. By probably like $2 to $4 million, you can do a 1,000-ton scale pilot. And we focus on the blast furnace iron making process. So basically, we focus on steel. And again, it needs to be next gen, and we hope that it can be a closed loop CCS solution within the steel plant. And the site we prepared is in Serbia, right? It's in Serbia Steel. It's one of our strongest partner in our industrial partner network. But again, you're welcome to bring any steel plant, right, in the world where maybe you're partnering with, maybe in Portugal, in Spain, in France, in the UK, right, in the US, so anywhere in the world can apply. Next page. So for CCU, it's a very unique track and very exciting track this year. So we not only focus on the upstream CCU technology provider, right? We actually formed a whole value chain consortium where we connect the CCU providers with industrial partners like Sasso and the Intellipack, and also all the way to consumer brands like Unilever, McDonald's. So we actually want to make actual CO2-enabled CCU products where consumers can actually touch, taste, and buy, right? To give you an example, right? So one example can be a CCU provider is converting CO2 into methanol, right, using a very innovative technology. And the methanol can be converted to surfactants, right, in Sasso, which can then be used by Unilever to make laundry products for consumers, right? This is kind of the value chain we're tapping to. And for CCU, because some of them are like super early stage and innovative, so we need at least ton scale production capacity, right, for CCU. teams to apply, right? Next page. So energy storage, again, so we are looking for 100 kilowatt scale, more than 6 hours of storage, right? It's also kind of probably the first meaningful milestone in the real industrial setting. And it needs to be non-lithium ion battery power, right? So it needs to be a flow battery or like, I don't know, compressed battery that you will find in your EVs. And again, it needs to be next-gen technology. And the site we prepared is actually in the Maldives, in one of the Maldives islands, right? It's not in the luxury resort islands, right? It's in the actually very underdeveloped residential islands in Maldives, where the whole island, right, the whole country is relying on diesel for power generation. For 100 kilowatt kind of a scale, we are maybe able to replace everything on one single island, right, for a few hundred people. But again, right, you're welcome to bring your own pilot site anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be in Canada. It doesn't have to be in the Maldives. Yeah, I think that's my short presentation, right? Maybe you can go to one of the slides in after this, yeah. Skip this one. So these are the 13 projects we funded in phase 1. Just give you an example, like in the previous page. Sorry. To give you an example, like this is actually real, right? We funded like 6 startups, 4 universities, and 3 kind of nonprofit organizations, right, to do projects. The 13 projects in phase 1, and we're funding probably similar size of projects this year. And next page, the last page. These are just some photos from phase 1, which was kind of a China-focused phase 1, and like the bottom 2 graphics are kind of some of the pilot sites, right? We're doing our projects in phase 1. So all of these are kind of already undergoing, right? So we are actually giving out grants of millions of dollars to fund your early stage projects, and it's purely non-commercial. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all I have to say.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Juan. You are going to stay here with us until the end of the session. So let's move on to our fireside chat, in which we invited 3 experts that are based here in Portugal to join you on stage to talk a little bit about carbon solutions, emerging trends and funding opportunities. And as I shared with you before, the first question, and it's kind of a kickoff question, Dr. Juan, you already told us what you do at Tencent and your role here at CarbonX. So this question is more to our 3 other speakers. And I would like to ask you if you had 1 minute to share how your work is related to the carbon solution sector and one specific key challenge that you're working at the moment. How would you describe it? And you have just 1 minute, okay? So I think I will give the mic to Hugo Matias. Maybe you can start.
Well, thank you. Well, it's a challenging question to be answered in 1 minute, but let me put it this way. Net4CO2 is the only national organization totally focused in the development and deployment of CCUS technology here in Portugal. We also aim to improve the knowledge and awareness of all the industry and other stakeholders to remove and reduce carbon emissions in hard-to-abate industry. So we do focus on CCUS hard-to-abate industries here in Portugal. Besides that, we also develop training programs for industry, regulators, and researchers to increase that awareness on CCUS and also overcome some of the myths on these set of technologies. We also provide consulting services to industrial partners and help develop and tailor the right size of the technology to implement in their industry. So we do have a broad spectrum of activities in our organization, ranging from training, technology development, consulting services. Regarding the second part of the question, what is the key challenge we work at the moment? We're currently pioneering the installation of the first pilot CO2 capture unit in Portugal. So we're actually building one small modular industrial unit for full continuous operation of CO2 capture and separation, and will be ready for 2025. We're also developing our own methanation technology. So at the end of 2025, we aim to have an integrated CCU unit that can be deployed in industry and upscaled if needed. So this is in a nutshell, that's what we do, our DNA, and the challenges we're facing, which is basically deploying on the ground technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hugo, and thank you for being sharp in the 1 minute. I will give the mic to Pedro. Pedro, do you want to follow up?
Yes. As a researcher in the University of Évora, so I've been working in a CCUS project over the past 6 years, mainly in European funded projects in the carbon solution space, including Strategy CCUS, which involve 8 different regions in Europe, and more recently CTS and Pilot Strategy. So CTS is focusing in 4 different environments in terms of direct transport by ship, mainly in pilot phases, and also pilot strategies with a strong focus in geological storage component of CCUS value chain, exploring the potential for CO2 geological storage in deep saline aquifers across several European regions, including here in Portugal, the Lusitanian sedimentary basin. So it's mainly focused in the storage part. So my expertise as a researcher in this area lies in subsurface characterization, reservoir modeling, and CO2 flow simulation, particularly in deep saline aquifers, which are among the most promising subsurface storage solutions in Europe. And the key challenge that we have been facing is to integrate the multi-scale data and advanced modeling workflows to improve the confidence in storage capacity and also reservoir injectivity and containment, which is essential for progressing from screening assessment phase to the pilot implementation phase. Especially in areas like Portugal that haven't developed oil and gas exploitation activities historically, and of course requires both technical innovation and building social trust from the ground up to develop this kind of CCUS technologies.
Okay, thank you so much, Pedro. And I will pass the mic to Miguel.
Hopefully
Hello.
you can hear me now.
Yes,
Perfect.
perfectly.
Sorry about before. So I had like computer crash at the worst timing. Hi, my name is Miguel. So I'm Chief Scientific Officer at CO2 Offset. And what we are actually doing, so we are working in a slightly different space. We are in the nature-based solutions. So what we are really, our goal, our mission is to democratize the access to the voluntary carbon market to all forest and landowners. So any forest area has a high value for us. We do believe that every forest area has a high value, and the question is how to unlock that value. So we combine to do this and to do it in a super transparent, accurate, but also cost-effective way. We combine artificial intelligence, satellite data, and in situ observations, so that for any forest area, we are able not only to quantify the carbon storage, but also its potential and storage and how to unlock that storage. So how can sustainable management of the land, both above ground and below ground, so also the carbon on the soil, can be unlocked? How can we maximize the ecosystem value using AI as a guidance, which allows anyone or any forest area, regardless of the size, to create a credible and accurate and reliable forest carbon capture project for its area. So the key challenge for us right now is we have built this. Now the key challenge is to scale this for the whole globe. Any type of forest, any type of land, peatland, and then after that proceed from forests also to other rural like agriculture. So our key challenge is just scale this for a global scale. And I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Miguel. As you can see, we have here a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise in our experts here. I hope this inspires you to also apply to CarbonX 2.0. And I will jump to the next question, which is again about the barriers, because Firstly, we presented an opportunity for funding, but let's talk a little bit about your experience and what are the biggest barriers to scaling CCUS solutions. And this could be technological, financial, or regulatory. And how did you overcome these barriers? So how are you tackling these specific barriers in your organization? So Ugo, do you want to start again? So that we can over the
Yeah,
circle.
sure. Well, that's an interesting question. Technological, financial, regulatory. Well, technology clearly isn't the issue. There's enough technology, different options that have boomed in the last 5 years. So we've seen a significant growth from the technology standpoint. And you know, I have at least, I wouldn't say all the options we'd like to have. I think we do have sufficient options to deploy technology to actually do CCU. Now, about yes, it's a different issue, it's a different animal, and I'll talk about that at the end. But for CCU, we have captured technologies that already capture CO2 at significant rates. We do a utilization also options for methanol, methane, and fischer-tropsch synthetic fuels. So that's okay. The regulatory and financial are the key hurdles. Okay, those are the main difficulties we face. Regulation is still lagging, mostly related with the CO2 derived e-fuels and chemicals. In Europe, we still struggle to have proper regulation for CO2 derived chemicals, for example. There's already some advances in e-fuels, but for the chemicals, that is the issue. And more companies have shown concern because they do have solutions to turn CO2 into chemicals that you can actually use or recirculate CO2, but we don't have regulation that certifies that utilization of CO2 can actually be considered as CO2 removal. Currently, we're mitigating this. Net for CO2, we work closely with CO2 Value Europe, which is a European organization that gathers different stakeholders, and they do have an active department dealing with the regulation and policy advocacy on this. On the other one is the financial issue. The cost and competitiveness of CCU technology is still not competitive. The cost to produce a ton of synthetic fuel, it's way above what is the benchmark value, which are the carbon tariffs. So we still not able to reduce the cost of our ton of synthetic fuel. And until we do that, we will struggle significantly to have its acceptance and its deployment in a more widespread region. Another topic related with the financial and also regulatory, I would say, is the hydrogen. The hydrogen projects have suffered significant demotivation and have been losing momentum also in the last 2 years. 5 years ago, hydrogen was the big thing. A lot of people still think it's going to be the big thing, but what we've been observed in Portugal that has been very dramatic, a very dramatic reduction of about 300% in projects. And also in Europe, when you do discuss with other institutions, you see the same thing. Without hydrogen, you can't do synthetic fuels. Okay, so that's the issue. The costs, why we're reducing? Because the cost of hydrogen has been increasing significantly. Initial estimates, economic estimates, were too optimistic, and reality has been showing that it's much more complex than that. So the main challenges are regulatory and financial. Okay, we need to work on that, but I believe that will still take some time till we start producing synthetic fuels that are competitive with the fossil dry fuels. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So you have also this expertise and this overview of what is going on in the European Union, which is super valuable to share here with our participants. And now shifting towards the research sector, Pedro, what do you agree with Google, and do you have other barriers, other points of view to share with us?
Yeah, in general, yeah, I agree with Hugo. I think the three components, in a certain way, are some kind of barriers, especially the regulatory part, but also the financial part. In terms of The technology, for instance, for the subsurface storage component, it's a mature and proven technology that has been deployed over the last decades worldwide, in Europe and all over the world. Um, However, we have been tackling the barrier of site characterization in data scarce regions here in Portugal, only or mainly based in oil and gas legacy exploration activities. And I think that more recent and detailed geophysical data and tools, such as high-resolution 3D seismic data, for instance, may be needed to increase confidence, but also to confirm the storage suitability, mainly to move from the pilot phase to the commercial scale in the coming years that is needed. Uh, in terms of the regulatory, it needs to have some regulatory clarity and investment confidence, uh, which are currently the most pressing, I think. Without a national legal framework that enables particularly the offshore permitting, monitoring, and long-term liability for CO2 storage, the private investment may remain a bit cautious, I would say. So through pilot strategy project, for instance, we are trying to engage with policy makers, also the interest stakeholders, to provide the scientific evidence and of course some baseline data to support and develop the regulation that is needed. Well, in terms of financial, I think there is also still a gap, mainly because we are dealing with early stages funding for CCUS infrastructure in Portugal. Uh, this is where European Union collaboration and new funding instruments, like those, for instance, promoted by the CarbonX Program 2.0 program, become or can become essential for these early stage phases. These tools not only help sharing risks, but also accelerate pilot to demonstrator transitions, which Portugal will need if we want to contribute meaningfully to European net zero goals. This would involve a fast investment in the capture component. That is a mature technology, but it needs to reduce costs to be developed at a larger scale. Uh, and we need to implement, of course, the CO2 pilot capture technologies across different industrial sectors, as also Hugo was mentioning, that is going on right now, some pilot project in terms of CO2 capture. But yeah, other industrial sectors, for instance, here in Portugal, mainly in cement, which is the main industrial target, but also in glass, pulper, and paper and pulp, and also in chemical industries. But apart from the capture component, I would say the storage component, we also need to move on with a CO2 injection well for the pilot phase and to confirm the feasibility of the offshore storage potential, particularly addressed in this pilot strategy project in different regions in Europe, but also in Portugal, in the Lusitanian Basin that I was mentioning. And of course, in addition to all of these, we also need to provide and to develop CO2 transport networks because, of course, we have the natural gas pipelines currently, but we don't have for CO2. Although for the pilot scale, alternative transport options exist, such as train or ship that could be used in this phase, but a pipeline grid will be required for sure for the commercial scale of CO2 capture and storage, because we are talking about millions of tons of CO2 per year. And this is the main challenge that also needs to be addressed financially in the next coming years, and probably a barrier right now, but can be overcome when the technologies can be mature and reduce the cost of investment.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter. So you added here also the transport question to our discussion, which is very important. And I can also see Dr. Juan nodding sometimes. So I hope that it's also interesting for you to follow up with the discussion here in Portugal and our barriers here. So Miguel, your solution or your organization is tackling a little bit of a different problem. But what are the current barriers that you face, and how are you tackling them?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, well, so my two predecessors, so the other members of the panel have basically they did a very wide coverage of the key issues, and I would definitely agree on the part of the regulatory. So the regulatory is definitely a key challenge. It's a key challenge. I think in Europe it's particularly difficult, and there's a lot of uncertainty on the regulatory, which also makes it difficult for these initial projects like ours, like startups, to know where to navigate, and it's slightly confusing, to be honest. And so regulatory is certainly a big challenge. But we also need to understand that I think there's probably a lot of people here attending that are looking to probably to submit and to start or even to scale their projects in the carbon capture and to submit an application to CarbonX. And I think this is also the financial part. So we need to understand that over the last decade or two, many carbon solutions have emerged, and a lot of them were not satisfactory. A lot of them actually ended up having a damage. Basically, they caused more damage than good, and now there's a reputation damage that whoever is in 2024, 2025, and onwards trying to tackle this problem needs to acknowledge. And this also reflects on the regulatory, both regulatory on the political side, but also on the companies. So if you want companies, say, to offset or to contribute to your projects, they are now demanding a level of assurance, credibility that you need to guarantee, and you need to take that into account. And what is the key answer for this? And I think we have a very good answer. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's science. Okay, so do back your projects with science. I think the technology is not going to be the problem. And from my experience at CO2, but also like looking at many other projects that are emerging, the technology is developing at an incredible pace, and you're going to get probably a lot of applications here that are just amazing. And there's going to be a lot of technological solutions. What you need to ensure is that you're able to credibly and clearly, without doubt, show that you're adding value, that your solution actually works. Because also I'm a climate scientist, and there's an undeniable truth: the atmosphere, the concentration of carbon in the atmosphere does not lie. You can tell whatever you want, but there are measurements that you can take, and that we can see as a whole if you can have the impact that we want. And I think that's it. Do back up with science, and then just keep pushing on the regulatory. And meanwhile, in this process, funding opportunities like CarbonX are absolutely essential, because you're going to get a lot of distrust for the companies in the beginning. So, whoever is putting money first, that allows you to scale and show your solution, is absolutely critical. And so well done on CarbonX.
Thank you so much. And our time is going so fast, and we are going to our last question. So I would ask you to keep it very short and sweet. And Dr. Juan, you can also join us now in this question if you want to add something to the discussion. I would just like to ask you, how can we unlock a faster progress in the carbon economy? So Miguel already shared that it's critical to have access to funding so that we can have a faster progress. But Pedro, Hugo, do you have something else to share on this topic? How can we move faster towards the future?
Well, I guess the issue is because of the lack of CCU projects. Countries do not have regulations nor engineering specs in place to provide guidelines to technology engineering providers. So that's one of the problems. When you want to deploy a project, even for a CCU project in Portugal, for example, there's a big absence of knowledge about what needs to be done, what needs to be required in terms of permitting, for example. So inclusivity integration is key for success CCU projects, for sure. Okay. Some funding and subsidies, yes, they needed, but we need to make an effort, and industries need to make an effort to make it happen. We can't work endlessly with subsidies and with funding. It's needed to boost the developments and deployments, but also companies need to invest. And what we see is a lot of companies are all just relying on the funding and subsidies because they don't want to invest their own money. So that's an issue. We need to see industry putting more money on the table, boots on the ground, and get the things done and happen. And right now, with all the flood of money coming from the EU, I'm sorry to say, and this might not be a very popular comment to make, but I think, okay, that's good, but industries need to do that investment also. And they just saving the earnings for them, and they're not investing on R&D enough. Okay, so that's one. Now, what we're doing, we're also developing our capturing, for example, cooperation with academia, developing add-ins, industry is also investing on the pilot and work with regulators. So we're working on the integration of all different stakeholders to make sure we get the things done. So definitely we need to have more collaboration, as you mentioned in your question, to make the things happen. For example, on the geostorage, we're also working with JAG, okay? So we also develop our own geostorage projects. As Pedro mentioned, they're developing their projects, we're developing ours in cooperation with JAG to make sure that we capture their knowledge, to capture their concerns, and we integrate different views in the way we approach and do things. If we do our projects divorced and separated from the other things, it doesn't help. Okay? It doesn't work. Okay, you got to get the connection, bring the understanding from different parts. That's it. That's my case here.
Thank you so much, Hugo. Pedro, would you like to share something?
Yes, yeah. For this to question, let's say, so I would mention that the cross-sector collaboration is a key component of early stage CCUS markets, for instance, like in Portugal. And I would like to just give the example in terms of the pilot strategy project that exemplifies this, uniting or gathering research institutions, industry, some international geological surveys, also local stakeholders and local communities to co-design the storage or the CCUS strategies, while also building the social perception and acceptance through transparency and community engagement, because this is really important, the social component in the CCUS project. Uh, and we should highlight in terms of scientific component, but this is important for local communities to understand. This is not just an environmental issue, but also can be an economic and also a social impact, because we are talking about the industries that we have in the country or in different countries, and it can impact in terms of the jobs that already exist, but for instance, for the direct and indirect jobs that can be created in the future. So this is important, the social component here, apart from the technological or the scientific or the other components that should also be important. But I would like to stress on this. The one last thing that I would like to mention, it's an emerging trend with high potential, which is the accelerated carbonation technology, ACT, which is able to convert the CO2 and the industrial waste or mining residues into valuable products, for instance, construction materials. And I think that Portugal could leverage this to create a circular carbon economy as well, uh, because we also have a good position in terms of renewable energy sources to power this CCUS chain, because it requires a lot of energy to be used to be employed for all these components in terms of CCUS chain, from the capture to utilization, but also from storage. And Portugal could also benefit in positioning itself as a leader or as a good contributor to the carbon negative materials and in terms of CCUS technology in a whole chain, I would say, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I can see that Dr. Juan, you also want to share. I just wanted to let everyone know that our session was supposed to end in 5 minutes, but we will
Yes.
stay for more 10 for the Q&A for about CarbonX. So if you can all stay with us just a little bit longer, perfect. Dr. Juan, do you want to share something?
I really, yeah, because we only have 5 minutes left. So I think probably like, because this is a CarbonX infra session, right? I know probably the audience came here to hear about CarbonX. So maybe I can save the time for the Q&A if anyone has any CarbonX related.
Perfect.
But
Yes.
in the end, yes, we are providing the funding that we hope that can close the funding gap, right? Especially for many of the first of its kind pilots, where the large corporates or the governments probably don't want to fund, right? Because it's probably too risky. But we are giving that catalytic funding to bring your technology out of the lab to do it in a real industrial setting. So, yeah, and we hope to accelerate this this process. Yeah, but
Perfect.
But
okay. So I will just say that if you want to ask a question to our panel, you can send it to me by email. My colleague Monica just shared my email in the chat so that we can use this time to talk about CarbonX. And if you want to ask something directly to Dr. Juan, you can. You can make it through the chat, or you can also unmute yourself. And before we pass the mic to the audience, I just wanted to thank again to our panel of experts. Thank you so much, Hugo, Pedro, and Miguel. Your LinkedIn and your websites are on the chat. So hopefully if the audience wants to reach out to you, they will. And if I receive any questions directed to you, I will send them over to you as well. So thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you had a great time as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you, Hugo. Yeah.
So now I would pass the mic to our audience, and if you have, it could be a question or something that sparked your attention about CarbonX, maybe about the location, maybe about the specific categories, or maybe about the experience from the alumni from CarbonX 1.0. And I will keep Dr. Juan here pinned at the top.
Yeah, you can open your mic or just put in the chat box. Any question? Yeah. If you haven't checked the website, or you can go to carbonxprogram.com where you will have everything. Yeah. And we do hope to have as many teams as possible from Portugal to.
We have here one question, I think. So would the program support the development of a point source CCUS pilot at a scale of several thousand tons of CO2, even if associated costs are expected to be relatively high?
Short answer is yes. Yes. I think 1,000 tons is kind of the minimum, right? We're going to. If you're capturing probably a few thousand tons or even like 10,000 tons, which means probably like the total project cost is probably more than $2 to $3 or $4 million. So in that case, hopefully like you already have your own funding source. We probably just provide the gap. Yeah, but probably like the maximum amount of grant size we give for one project is probably like, I would say probably like close to $4 million. Yeah, but we can, yeah. And then in phase one, we did have a few scenarios like this, where basically we co-funded the project with another funder, right? And then the project itself is bigger. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. The question is from me, guys. Nice to meet
Hello,
you.
Brad.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah.
Thanks for the session.
Yeah.
A question on that. So you think that the project that you're aiming is going to be still in Serbia? That's what the program is aiming.
Yeah, that's what I said in the slide is that's the pilot site we can prepare for you, right? If you just like we have a technology, but we don't have a pilot site, yes, we can definitely go to Serbia. But you're also welcome to bring your own pilot scenario anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, we are in the stage of scaling up the pilots. And as you mentioned, it's kind of strategic play with different hard-to-abate industries. So we are in the fertilizers sector first, in phosphate fertilizers. Actually, with our strategic partners that are also operating in China, gonna be a future market. But we didn't. We were completely aiming to, let's say, fertilizer, low carbon, hydrogen, and steel. Those are the three sector that we targeting, and our technology is fit for. But as I mentioned, it's a little bit kind of the project a little bit bigger from what you understood from our question. The question is, when you are offering Serbia as a site, the regulatory approval, how long it's you expect it to be taking care? What are going to be the role of the host?
Yeah.
How we need to bring the APC company with us, or I'm sure you passed those questions previously.
Yeah, so those are probably like more detailed. So definitely you're welcome to go to Serbia, right? So the reason why we chose Serbia still is because one of our closest, I think, strongest industrial partner, as we listed, is HBIS, which is now probably the fourth largest steel manufacturers in the world. And Serbia Steel is one of their subsidiary, right? So we have full access to HBIS because we're now already doing 2 pilot projects in one of the HBIS plants in Tangshan, in China, from phase 1. So because of that relationship, so we actually working very closely with them in a very good relationship. So they have already offered, right, that site to be done. So it's actually going to be done within the steel plant, right? And if the management team is on board, so I think it's will clear many of the kind of regulatory and permitting process. Yeah. So, and then in terms of like whether you provide the EPC, or I think that's more like a case by case scenario discussion. And also kind of, as I said, there are 2 rounds of selections. The application you're submitting now actually does not need that much level of detail, right? It's more like a kind of a questionnaire. And the first round of selection will be mostly based on the technology innovation, right? Whether there's enough innovation in technology. And we'll select the top 10 or 15 in each track. And in second round, right, we will select the final top 3. That will become, I would say, more like a semi-RFP process, right? Then the feasibility, the implementation will be more key, and then probably will be required to submit a 20-page kind of a pre-feed type of study, right? Where then we'll just say, hey,
technical economical model and all the others. Yeah. And that's supposed to be in September.
That's after September, right? September we'll announce the first round winners.
Okay.
And the second round, yeah, we probably can even bring all the teams, the first round winners, to the site, right? And we can have discussion with the actual steel plant. So, yeah. So don't worry too much about how do we actually do this in 2026, right? For now, it's really just submit the proposal, right? The application, and then the first round will be more like a online presentation and Q&A session, right? Each team will probably get a 30-minute slot with the judges, and we'll score you based on the technology. So
excellent. Thank you very much.
But really looking forward to your application, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Dr. Hua, we have one more question. Can 2 applications be submitted under different categories?
Yes, definitely yes. And it's also explained in our FAQ. So each team, right, can submit multiple applications to each different tracks, right? For example, we actually have a team. They have a pretty big team, right? They're working on DAC, also working on point source CCS, and also working on CCU, right? So you definitely can submit 3 proposals. It just need to be 3 different projects, but it can be from the same entity, same team for sure. And even for the same application track, right? Some team can also submit multiple applications, right? Maybe we have 2 types of point source CCUS technologies. You can then submit 2 point source applications. Yeah, so definitely yes.
Perfect. And also, we already shared the links of the application guide, the frequently asked questions. So we will also send all of these through email, so you can access them anytime. but I think we still have 5 more minutes. So if you have any questions, if you were not here in the beginning when Dr. Juan shared the presentation, feel free to ask more generic questions if you want. No problems with that. So you still have 17 days until the deadline, right? It's the 31st of May.
Yeah.
Do you have any key insights that participants should focus in the application? Something that is more challenging that they should take some time to think through?
Yeah. Again, like no matter you actually apply that, definitely encourage you to go to the website. Once you look at the questionnaire, then you get a much better sense of what we're looking for. Overall, like I know for some programs, people actually need to pay a fee to apply, and also like there's a detailed Excel sheet you need to fill in, right? We don't require that much of details. I think it's like a few hours is more than enough. And if you have everything off the shelf, probably takes an hour or two, right? As I already kind of exchanged messages with Murat, I think the first round will focus more on innovation, right, on technology itself, which we explained in the guide as well in the PDF. So yeah, so if there are ways to kind of showcase, yeah, your technology has advantages, right, breakthroughs compared to kind of what people generally have, right? Definitely highlight those in the materials. Yep.
Thank you so much. Do we have more questions? You can unmute yourself or just use the chat, whatever fits best your needs.
Yep. And again, like don't be scared by like, oh, I want to do CDR, and then open the page, I saw a map of Kenya, right? Yes, so like Kenya renewable power, so Kenya's grid is already 93% green. And also they have lots amounts of basalt for storage. So that's why we kind of picked Kenya as the potential pilot site. But yes, you don't have to go to Kenya, right? Also for point source, you don't have to go to Serbia, right? In many cases, you probably already have your own pilot site or have your own partners in the local market, right? You can just apply using those projects. It actually makes our job easier. So we just provide the funding. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely want to see many projects coming from Portugal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Also looking forward. So I think we are reaching the end of our session. I really hope that you enjoyed this hour together, even if it's virtual. You have all the links. By the end of this session, we will send you an email with the recording of this session, with the CarbonX website, and all the team from CarbonX, from Impact Hub is super available to help you with your application process. So don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Dr. Juan, thank you so much for your time and for all the clear explanations. I hope that you have a great time as well. And
Definitely.
thank you for all the participants. And I see you very soon. And good luck on your application process.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for the help team in this one. Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Good day.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye. Thank you.